Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. My guest today is really one of the great drummers in music. You probably know him best from his time with prog metal legends Fate's Warning, but he's here today to talk about the second record from his all star band A through Z, which features his former Fate's Warning bandmate Ray Alder. The record is called A2Z2. It's out everywhere June 6th. And here to talk about it is Mark Zonder. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. And let's start with the band. So, the core of the band, yourself, Ray, and just the incredible bassist Philip Bino, remain from the first record.
Yep.
You've rebuilt the rest of the band, and it's sort of this cool combination of Ray's Redemption project and your Warlord project. Talk about the new lineup and what led to the change.
Well, it's more about instead of Warlord and Redemption, it's more about surrounding myself with friends, pros, and guys that I can really trust and that are mature musicians.
Mhm.
Basically, when I started this, I have 18-year-old twins. So for the last 18, well, we have to take it back a few years,
Mhm.
but for the last X amount of years, I wasn't really on the road. I wasn't really doing the band thing so much because I wanted to raise my kids. So it got to that point where it's like, okay, now it's time to go because they're fine and everything's fine. So when I decided to do this, it was all in. It was going to be album, tour, interviews, blah, blah, videos, like old school, 80s. And that was my philosophy. If I decided, okay, at my age, I'm not 25. So at my age, if I'm going to do something, I'm all in or I'm not going to do it. That's just the way it is. And that's the way I've been all the time, anyways. But so I was going to put my money where my mouth was, and I was going to do everything first class, whether it's the artist, the guys in the band, the artist doing the artwork, to the guy who's mixing it, to the label. The label is very important, obviously, as well. We've all heard the horror stories. Um, and I told the guys, hey, this is what we're doing. This is not a project. Okay, get rid of the P word. This is not a project. This is not what I'm doing. If I wanted a project, I'd go get hired by other people, make
Right.
money, be on my way. This is a band. I want to go out on tour. I want to do a second record. I want the second record to be bigger and better than the first record and the third one and whatever. I'm basically acting like I'm 22 years old all over again, doing it very 80s style. And it was all good and everything was great until the record was done and it was time to talk about going out on tour. And I'll just leave it short and sweet. It wasn't going to happen. And the whole thing, I just knew this just wasn't going to happen. This wasn't going any further. So basically, I'd already sent the guys 150 different drum ideas to work on. I wasn't hearing anything back from anybody and so on and so forth, and just really realized, reached out numerous times, just realized if I was going to continue this, I'd have to go in a different direction. I started writing with a bunch of people. Nothing really was happening. Nick and I go back 30 years or so. We're good friends. One of the few people in the world that I leave my kids, my car keys, and my checkbook with. Just one of those guys. And Philip Bino's in that thing too, in that club too. We go to see Kansas, and Phil's a good friend of mine, the drummer, and we go see him. And Nick says to me, hey, we've been talking for a long time about working together. Why don't we start doing something? I go, cool. So we start working, and ideas are going back and forth, and everything's going great. It's cool. It's great. And I play the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame thing here in Agora Hills, where Lou Graham and Twisted Sister and Chris Pelletieri
Mhm.
get inducted. And I play with Chris. We play AC/DC or whatever. I mean, it was fun. Great guys. Him and James are great guys. I mean, all the guys were great.
Yeah.
Really fun. And Nick comes up to me backstage and he goes, hey, I've been thinking you put so much time, energy, and money, and you got A through Z to a certain level. He goes, why don't we just continue on and use this? And I literally wanted to kiss him on the lips. I didn't want to broach it to him because I didn't want to be pushy and try to shove something down his throat. But it made my month, made my year. It got me kind of up off the floor. And the rest is history.
And now, in addition to sort of expanding the band, bringing in Nick and Simon Mulroney and Jimmy Waldo, you guys also use some backup vocalists on this record. And I love that you do that because even though all of you guys are really good backup singers, you have different voices that sort of flesh out a lot of these songs and give new dimensions and new sounds throughout the record.
It's funny you mentioned that because first of all, I can't sing, so you don't even want to hear that one. It was funny that the story goes, like I said, I'm close friends with Phil Ahart from Kansas. And when I was looking for a singer in the very beginning, you know, I called him up and said, "Hey man, who came in number two? You know, when you replaced Steve, who's your number two guy?" And he gave me a list of a few guys, and I contacted, and I'm talking to this one guy, really nice, and he said, "Yeah, I sang on this Kansas record and that Kansas record and this record." And I'm like, I didn't say it, but I'm thinking, no, you didn't. Steve sang on all those, or John
Yeah.
Elefante did. I go to the record and I look, and there's his name.
Mhm.
And then it dawns on me, even though I kind of knew it, but it dawns on me like, okay, all these bands that have that kind of sound that we're looking
Mhm.
for, and that's what I wanted was that big lush sound. Bring in all these other guys. You know, you have bring in Tommy Shaw, bring in Joe Walsh, bring in like it's again, you hit it on the head. Ray could sing all those parts. It's not about Ray singing them or not singing them. It's that sound that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Robbie Wyckoff was all over the first record.
Mhm.
You know, I brought him in,
Mhm.
and on this one, Robbie's on it. A lady named Linda Chase, who's a good friend of Jimmy Waldo's,
Mhm.
who's a very in-demand session singer back in Boston, did some. A buddy of mine, James Welch, did some too, just to get that. That's the sound that you're talking about. That's the big hook. That's the big chorus. It's kind of taking it to the next level, and that was part of the plan when I first started this. Was okay, Mark, what do you want to do? You want to do some prog band? Hell no. You know, no, I ain't doing prog band. And it was beer commercials, car
Yeah.
commercials, and Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
You know, it's the hook. You
Mhm.
know, and usually that hook is surrounded by a nice landscape of vocals.
Mhm.
You know, it also is surrounded by really cool in the background lead playing that Simone
Mhm.
provides like during seconds, not just like, okay, here's your 16 bars, blaze away, but that Lukather, Steve, Neil Sean kind of thing. And that's really evident on this record too, as well. And no, I think it's definitely up a level. And again, you know, I just tried to surround myself with guys that I could trust. You
Mhm.
know, if I'm going to give 137%, you know, and do everything from get the deal to pick up the towels in the locker room, I need to make sure that everybody, you know, is on board
Mhm.
and communicate. And, you know, and Nick told me right from the beginning, he goes, "Hey, you know, this is going to be great and everything is going to be fine. But when we go out to play live, if I can't make it because of prior commitments to work or family or whatever," he goes, "That's fine, but and we'll find somebody. You know, we know enough
Mhm.
people." And he was very honest about it, which made life so much easier for me, wondering, okay, what's going to happen? Instead of worrying every step that you go, okay, what's going to be my hurdle? So again, just surrounding yourself with complete professionals. That's all.
And to those lines, I think a big part of getting that sound that you're looking for, that kind of big 80s type sound, but with a really modern flair, are the keyboards. And Jimmy Waldo is probably the best guy I could think of to come in and lay down sort of that keyboard bed behind a guitar oriented band. It takes a real skill to be able to have that keyboard in the background while the guitar is going. And Jimmy's been a master at that his whole career. And it really makes a difference on this record.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the major changes is the first record, the keyboards they were lighter, they were a
Mhm.
little bit more airy, and it was a certain style. And that's cool and that's great and that's fine. But on this one, especially when you know, I knew Jimmy because I played with him, I knew what his style was. But the John Lord Hammond organ, you
Mhm.
know, the complement to the guitar with that little edge thing, without having to be, hey, look at me, I'm over here, I'm over here.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and so and Jimmy will tell you the story. That my whole thing with this band from the beginning is I tell everybody, do everything you want, do whatever you want. Here's the basic stuff, go nuts. And
Mhm.
me and Jimmy had the discussion in the very beginning, you know, and he goes, I'm going to overplay all over the place, and we'll figure out at the end what we're going to cut and stuff like that. The only problem was at that point we were doing that, we hadn't brought Simone on board yet.
Mhm.
And so what happened is a lot of Jimmy's parts got cut for the simple fact of I preferred the guitar stylings of the little things. I thought it was much more of a modern sound.
Mhm.
And it was also just the sound that I really liked. And it's also a little cleaner with the guitar than with the keyboards. So, and Jimmy, and even after the fact, I had a conversation with Jimmy. I said, "Hey, man, I know a lot of stuff got hit the floor. You know what I mean?" And I was honest with him. I said, "Hey, if I would have known Simone was going to do that, I wouldn't have put you through that. I wouldn't have, But Jimmy's a total pro,
Yeah.
and he was good for it. And he even knew when going in, I'm going to play all over the place.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, but no, absolutely. It's the edge that the Hammond and the keyboards and the other stuff and the arpeggiato, arpeggiato or however they pronounce it, kind of riffs that add to it. And I asked him to do a couple things like that and put it in there. See, Jimmy could definitely play in Rainbow. Let's just put it that way,
Oh,
or Deep
without a
Purple,
doubt.
or Deep Purple.
The first record was really well received. You got great reviews for it. I think this record surpasses it. It's even better. I mean, is there a satisfaction for you that after all these years into your career, I mean, yes, sir, the core fans who are always going to listen to something that you're on or that Ray's on, but you're bringing in new people. You're bringing in new fans who may not know your background, who are hearing, the A through Z records and saying, that band kicks ass. I mean, is there a satisfaction in after all this time starting something new and having people care about it?
Okay, that's a couple point question. Number one, in full honesty,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we've hit that. Okay. And the label, we've talked about it in depth, where this is the band that they have on their label that can go another direction.
Mm-hmm.
We could open up for Journey. You could play it on the radio. My favorite interview of all time, and please don't take this personal, would be someone who came on and said, "Man, I have no idea who you are, but your record's amazing." Okay, that's where we have to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that I could put out a horrible record and you would love it, but you'd listen to it, but you'd listen to it.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of the fans that we treasure will, but we really have to get to that other side of things. I think we produced the record that can do it. I think the first record could have done it if we would have went out on tour. I think the first record would have worked too. But yes, my satisfaction comes more from the fact of starting this X amount of years ago and believing in myself and going with my not sacrificing, not cheesing out, and even now there's like a kind of thing, a little thing with the label. It's not a bad thing, but it's like, hey, I want to do it a certain way. I'm going to take the responsibility. I'll put my money where my mouth is, but I want to do it a certain way because I just don't believe this other way is going to work. And I stick to that. Okay. But yes, I get a satisfaction more out of just knowing that you can do it, Mark, because in every band that I've ever played in, I've always been involved some way or another. Obviously, Fates Warning, it wasn't my band, so I couldn't run it. So when this was the whole point. Like, okay, run it the way you want to run it. Do the things that you want to do. Take the chances. There are chances that a lot of bands don't take. You have to invest in yourself. Are you going to spend the time and the energy to do all the interviews? Are you going to do the special merch and then surprise them with some extra special merch in there that you send it to them that they'll tell their friends about or whatever? All those things in all my years, it's like, it's time to like kind of put up and shut up. But yes, the satisfaction comes from just holding the record, listening to it, and just going, damn, this is really good. We're doing everything right. The packaging is amazing. We have an amazing label. I mean, people have to know what it takes to bring 6 guys from around the world to do videos and a photo shoot. And even Ray said it to me. He goes, "Man, they don't even do this for Fates Warning." So they're into it. The fact that they're invested, of course I'm going to give 150%, and they know it, because they're giving 150%. So, yes, I get the satisfaction of knowing that all this hard work is at a point now where it's like, okay, everybody's pulling in the right direction, so it's not going to be one of these kind of thing,
And talk along those lines of you being involved in making those decisions. One of the things I love talking about in interviews when it's appropriate is sequencing. because I think if you hear a record that is perfectly sequenced, it just jumps out and you want to listen to the whole thing and not skip through and grab songs. This record takes you on that ride musically. I mean, there's that build up at the beginning that brings you to a wordless prison. And then on the back end, again, that build up that takes you, my favorite track, Now I Walk Away. After the songs are done, how much effort on your part goes into, okay, this is the best way of listening to this record? Or is it just kind of a natural thing where, like, yeah, it makes sense to do it this way?
I would kiss you if I could. It's funny. I sequenced the record, and it sounds funny, and I did it on the first one as well. I literally have listened to that record probably 300 times. I can honestly say, every day that I go to the gym, I listen to it down. Okay. Or at the time, I was listening to the songs. Now, obviously, it's down. But exactly what you said, very 80s. Okay. And you sit here and go, okay, are we going to open with the ballad? No.
Yeah.
I would just like to think that my experience, my age, the amount of music that I've listened to, both metal, rock. I'm not a big jazz guy,
Yeah.
but some funk and R&B and stuff and other things that I have a feel for how it should kind of go and how things work. Do I sequence it by the keys of the song? No, because I don't know the keys.
Yeah.
I know the tempos, but it has nothing to do with tempo. It's that ride, like you
Yeah.
talked about. And I really don't look at it side one and side two, even though I know vinyl's happening, but it worked out really well. Okay. And again, you start getting into this thing of the timing of how long the songs are.
Yeah.
So you have that to kind of deal with. But no, I really appreciate it. And you kind of made my day with that one. And honestly, if you put five guys in the room, I guarantee you're going to get five different lists. Okay. That's kind of the thing where I knew if I was going to do this, I want to do it my way. I don't want, not that I don't want to compromise, because I'll listen and we'll talk and whatever. And if it makes sense and there's plenty of things that have made sense. But at the same time, when I really feel something, I don't want to have to not do that, and go, man, we really should have done this and the other. At 67, I think I kind of qualify for a little experience. And but no, I really appreciate that. And it kind of laid itself out. It didn't really require a whole lot of me pulling my hair out. But yes, that whole idea of those first two songs being tied together, that was my idea. I'm thinking, okay, when you go to a concert, they usually bang through three or two. You know what I mean? That's where I was going for. And then I had Jimmy play that intermittent part, and then we kind of went from one tempo to another, and it kind of got there, and then boom, it's in and it's going. And obviously, your single number three just kicks your ass, and then it's time to bring it down.
Yeah.
So it laid itself out quite easily. Now I Walk Away, which I think, and you can mark my words, maybe hopefully we'll come back to this. That to me is the song that's going to blow it open.
I love that song. I love it.
Tell me that's not A through Z silent lucidity.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that song, to me, it's the mark of whether or not I really like a record. When it ended and, music's over, it's quiet, I'm doing something else, I'm singing that song in my head. And that's where I think that song, I think, will define the band. Yeah.
Unfortunately, if we were in the 80s, it would be a whole different ball game. Like Nick always goes, man, if this was the 80s, we'd be in a private jet right now. But the problem with that is you don't want to come out as that as your single.
It's you can't.
It's hard to do that. You can't. Yeah. So what I did, and again, this is just that planning ahead. When we were shooting the videos, and this was not one of them. The video editor, Robert, was great, and I said, hey, do you mind? We're just going to blow through the song a couple times, and get it on film so we can make something later out of it. And we did that. And hopefully that's planning to be the fourth video. Again, I just think that is the song. Okay, we've kicked your ass a little bit here with some heavier tunes and we're rocking. And here's this great song. You got the album, you got the whole thing. And again, I just, it kind of reminds me of going back to, the Fates Warning thing, whether it was Eye to Eye that should have went into We Only Say
Yeah,
Goodbye, which was the one that was supposed to be the Silent Lucidity.
yeah,
Obviously, it all went in the toilet, but that song attracts the masses. Okay,
mhm,
even if you're, a 28-year-old girl or whatever, you can kind of get behind that.
yeah.
It is kind of boy girl kind of thing. It's got the kind of Genesis Phil Collins opening where I'm playing that whole thing with the percussion, and it's got the total power ballad,
Mhm.
Black Sabbath, boom, and the lead's phenomenal. I
Yeah.
don't know. I still think, and I've been harping the label on that one. I go, mark my words.
Mhm.
Don't when I come to you 3 weeks from now or a month or two, don't tell me you didn't. Why didn't you tell us back then? I just think that song is the song.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And we've talked about touring quite a bit. Do you have any plans in place yet, or is it wait till the record comes out and see what the
No, no,
reaction?
we're working on it now, and anybody that knows, the touring thing's difficult.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with Mike Faley over at Metal Blade, and he's, talking to the agents, and the bottom line is we've agreed wholeheartedly. This isn't about waiting for the perfect tour.
Mhm.
This is about getting out on the road now. Well, not now. You want your record out, but getting on the road.
Mhm.
Even if it's 2 weeks, because what 2 weeks of us playing live, people shooting videos,
Mhm.
people seeing the band, the word of mouth, us shooting the videos of ourselves or whatever the case may be that we can use later. There's so much promotional exposure there. It's not even funny. Real quick story. We're doing the video. I'm the only guy playing, obviously.
Mhm.
Everybody else is playing, but not really playing. My drums are stuffed with towels, so just to keep it a little quieter in the warehouse. And I felt the magic. I had to play on every track because I'm sitting in the back
Mhm.
and I was nailing it. I wasn't like, hey, what's happening? When's
Mhm.
lunch? I mean, I was like, we're live.
Yeah.
We're live. I felt the magic.
Mhm.
I felt the power. And I just kind of, I'm not going to say I wet my pants, but I
Yeah.
kind of went, oh my God, this is like,
Yeah.
this is happening. So just dying to get out, dying to get out and play.
And you had mentioned in one of the answers before, even the cover art of the record. And much like the first one, it's a pretty stunning image. And, I think cover art is kind of becoming a hallmark of this band, at least with these two records, as it was for Fates Warning.
Actually, you kind of froze up there for a second.
Oh, sorry about that. I was
No problem.
mentioning that the cover art of the record and
Okay.
how it's just another stunning image, kind of like the first one, and it's really becoming a hallmark of the band. And a couple of weeks ago we lost the great Ioannis, who did a lot of the Fates Warning covers from the early stuff, including A Pleasant Shade of Gray that you guys were on, you and Ray. How important is that image to you guys, that cover art?
Well, my big thing was when I started it is if you're going to go big or don't
Mhm.
go. I'm not a fan of, hey man, go to our website and check out the pictures my daughter took of us,
Yeah.
or having, my girlfriend, well, I don't have a girlfriend, I'm married, but
Yeah.
having the bass players, well, no, he's married too. Anyways, someone's girlfriend
Yeah.
doing the album
Yeah.
cover. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just, again, I keep saying it over and over. If I'm going to sell you a steak for $50,
Mhm.
I better deliver like $65 worth of steak. I can't give you a $12
Yeah.
hamburger. I know it's old school, and I know Paul McCartney puts out stuff, and it's all about going to read the lyrics on the website, but I ain't Paul McCartney, okay? It's like we're doing it differently. But yes, it's just as important as anything else.
Mhm.
Um, Also, I want to look back on the legacy when you turn around 20 years from now and you see X amount of A through Z albums. There's that constant kind of theme
Mhm.
that's going on from album to album, like it was in the
Yeah.
80s. You know, I don't guarantee, but there's probably not going to be any teeth on the next record. I already have an idea concept for what it is, but it's very important. And again, I work with Mark Cubbage on this and just the ideas because we throw them back and forth. He's had people like, and I sent him the bass drum head and everything.
Mhm.
He's had people walk in like 60-year-old ladies that go, "Oh my God, that's amazing. What is it?" But like you said, my big thing too was just thinking marketing in the back of my mind that when this thing shows up with other album covers, you want it to jump out.
Yes.
You just don't want it to be like Moses walking through the desert and the pyramids and the castles, and then there's some Viking dude there with a sword and a serpent, that kind of thing. It just really has to be something. It really has to be, and some people are going to go, oh, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I've had people tell me, oh, well, the teeth on the zebra look dirty. On the first album, it's like, I go, I don't know any zebra that goes to the dentist. Do you? I mean, I don't know. But no, it's very important, very, very important from a marketing point of view and just a personal point of view.
Yeah.
You don't want to look at it and go, damn, this is great, that kind of thing.
Yep. Well, we've been spending some time here with Mark Zonder. The band is A through Z. The record is A2Z2. It's out everywhere June 6th. It's another great record from this great band, and I can't wait to catch you guys on the road coming up soon. So thank you so much, and best of luck with the record.
My pleasure. If you ever need to get in touch or whatever, you can email me if you need something or whatever. Just keep in touch.
Definitely, you got it. Thank you.
I really appreciate your time.
Thanks.
One last question.
Yes.
Is the name of your show based on Marillion?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's funny because I was talking to Roy about it, and I go, this guy must be a Marillion guy. I mean, it's
like, my favorite band ever.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm with you on that one. I really appreciate your time, man.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah.
We'll talk soon.
Yeah.